Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched a storm tear through a city and yet find one single tree still standing tall, its roots gripping the soil, its branches bruised but not broken? That's faith. That's resilience. That's what we're talking about today. Because the world has witnessed something it can't unsee, something no news anchor can spin, no historian can erase. When the missiles fell, when the skies burned and the world held its breath, they stood unshaken. And now, the world knows what Muslims are made of. They didn't flinch. They didn't fall. They didn't run. When others screamed, they whispered prayers. When the earth trembled beneath their feet, their hearts stayed rooted in the heavens. When the world expected collapse, they stood tall, unshaken, unbreakable, unstoppable. What gives a human being that kind of strength, that kind of power? It's not armor, it's not weapons, it's not numbers, it's belief, it's purpose, it's a connection with something greater than this world. Because when your soul knows why it exists, when your heart is tethered to the eternal, no missile, no force, no fear can unmake you. And this is what the world saw. This is what pierced the headlines and cut through the noise. Men and women, young and old, standing in the rubble, heads bowed in prayer, children smiling despite hunger, mothers wiping tears not with hopelessness, but with grace, fathers walking forward into uncertainty with dignity carved into every step. This is the miracle the world didn't expect. This is the miracle they couldn't silence. You see, steel is forged in fire. Diamonds are formed under pressure. And faith, real faith, it doesn't just survive the storm, it rises in it. These were not ordinary moments. These were defining moments. The kind of moments that mark history, that redefine strength. Because for years, they tried to tell a different story, a story of weakness, of division, of fear. But when the storm hit, when the real test came, it wasn't anger or panic they found in the hearts of Muslims. It was peace. It was conviction. It was that deep, burning knowing that no matter what happens, we don't break, we rise. They fasted as bombs fell. They prayed as sirens screamed. They gave charity with what little was left. They forgave even as they buried their loved ones. That's not weakness. That's not fragility. That's the kind of strength that shakes the foundations of the earth. That's the kind of legacy that echoes for generations. And now the world is watching. The world is waking up to a truth it tried to bury. That behind every scar is a story of power. That behind every tear is a waterfall of courage. That behind every ruined wall is an unshakable soul. You see, adversity doesn't define you, it reveals you. And what's been revealed now is beauty in the struggle, dignity in the dust, grace in the grind, and unrelenting strength when all else crumbles. Faith doesn't flee the fire, it walks through it. That's not just a sentence. That's a reality etched into the hearts of the faithful. That's a truth that's been proven not in books, not in words, but in the footsteps of those who dared to keep walking when the ground itself gave way beneath them. Because real faith doesn't panic in chaos. It doesn't shiver in the shadow of fear. It doesn't run from the fire. It enters it, head held high, eyes fixed on the one who controls all things. And that's what we've seen. In a time when any ordinary person would have crumbled, when most would have turned their backs, when the flames rose high and the air filled with smoke, they walked forward, calm, steady, unshaken. That's not weakness pretending to be strength. That's real strength, the kind only born through connection to something higher than pain, deeper than loss, greater than fear. Because fire exposes what's fake. It melts the masks. It burns away the shallow. But faith is refined in fire. Faith grows in the heat. Faith needs the fire to show its worth. It doesn't avoid trials. It embraces them. Not because it loves pain, but because it knows what lies on the other side. It knows the fire is not the end. It's the process. When the missiles came, when the world was set ablaze, it wasn't strategy or science that carried them through. It was belief. Belief that no matter how hot the fire, they were never alone in it. Belief that there's a promise greater than the pain. That every trial is a test. That every moment of suffering, every drop of sweat, every silent tear, it all matters. It all counts. The fire makes people ask questions. Why now? Why this? But faith, real faith, doesn't always need answers. Sometimes it just needs a purpose. And that's the difference. That's why they stood. Because they weren't waiting for life to get easier. They weren't begging for comfort. They were walking with conviction, knowing that even if they had nothing left in this world, they still had everything. Because when your soul is lit with faith, no fire can consume you. You can throw a person into the flames, but if their heart burns brighter than the fire around them, then they're already victorious. They may walk through smoke, they may breathe in the ashes, but they keep stepping, one foot in front of the other, not out of blind habit, but out of deliberate trust, because they know the one who controls the fire walks beside them. He sees, he hears, and he never wastes a single moment of their sacrifice. That's what separates the fragile from the faithful. You see, some people treat faith like a decoration, something to wear when things are easy. But others, they carry it like armor. They live it, breathe it, and when the heat comes, and oh, it will come, they don't drop it. They don't throw it away. They hold it tighter. They step into the fire, knowing that this is where legends are made. This is where stories are born. Not fairy tales, but real stories of courage, of strength, of spiritual power that no one can explain. And when you walk through that fire, and you come out the other side, not bitter, but better, that's when the world takes notice. That's when people stop and say, what are they made of? That's when they realize this isn't just stubbornness or blind hope. This is divine trust. This is ironclad belief. This is the kind of faith that echoes across time. They didn't run. They didn't hide. They walked straight into the storm, through the blaze, with the name of God on their lips and peace in their hearts. And here's the truth. Every fire they walked through only made them stronger. Every trial refined their spirit. Every step they took was a slap in the face of despair, because they knew something the world is just now beginning to understand. That faith is not fragile. It is not soft. It is not silent. It is fierce. It is focused. It is fireproof. They didn't just survive the flames. They owned them. They told me Islam was fire and fear. They said it was nothing but rules, restrictions, punishments, and power. They painted it cold, rigid, distant. But when I stepped in, when I really looked for myself, I didn't find fear. I didn't find chains. I found mercy. I found discipline. I found peace and surrender. And let me tell you something. The loudest voices are often the most ignorant ones. Because when you've never tasted truth, it's easy to call it bitter. You know, it's easy to throw stones at something you don't understand. People hear a verse out of context. They see an act done by someone who never followed the Prophet's footsteps to begin with. And they slap a label on a whole way of life. They're extreme. They're harsh. They're backwards. But I didn't grow until I unlearned what the world taught me. But it happened. I didn't grow until I stopped listening to headlines and started listening to the Quran. And let me be clear, Islam didn't make me small. It made me disciplined. It didn't shackle me, but freed me. Mercy. Oh, I found mercy. In the early hours of dawn when the world is asleep, and I bow my head to my Lord, that's mercy. In every prayer, every drop of water that purifies before it, every act of kindness commanded, that's mercy. In the command to forgive, to feed the hungry, to protect the orphan, to honor the parent, that's mercy. What they call harsh, that's structure, that's honor. That's boundaries that protect the soul, not suffocate it. Because anything without boundaries becomes chaos. And chaste is what nearly destroyed me before I found this path. Now let me ask you, what's more merciful? A world that tells you, do whatever you want, then abandons you when it ruins you? Or a faith that says, come as you are, broken, lost, guilty, and I will cleanse you, lift you, remake you? This isn't oppression. This is order. This is balance. This is justice. I didn't come to Islam to be perfect. I came because I'm not. And in that brokenness, I found a God who says, my mercy prevails over my wrath. You see, the real harshness was living without purpose. The real punishment was not knowing who I was. And the greatest mercy was the day I found Islam, and Islam found me. We live in a world that praises rebellion like it's the ultimate form of strength. Do what you want. Be who you are. Live your truth. That's what they tell us. And sure, it sounds empowering until you've done everything you want and you still feel empty. That's the part they don't show you. They don't show you the nights you can't sleep because your heart is heavy with regret. They don't show you the fake smiles, the quiet addictions, the relationships built on desire instead of dignity. They don't show you what happens when freedom turns into slavery. Slavery to lust, to ego, to people's opinions, to your own destructive habits. You see, there's a difference between freedom and cows, and there's a difference between control and care. Surrendering to Allah isn't about losing your voice. It's about silencing the noise. It's about handing the wheel to the one who knows the road better than you do. People say, but why surrender? Why follow rules? Why not live how you want? Let me ask you something. Have you ever driven a car without brakes? Have you ever flown a plane with no navigation? That's not freedom. That's a death sentence. Islam isn't a cage. It's a compass. It doesn't trap you. It directs you. And surrendering to that direction is the greatest mercy a soul can experience. Because when you surrender, you're no longer guessing who you are. You're no longer waking up each day trying to impress people who don't even care about you. You're no longer looking for love in places that keep breaking you. You stand tall because you know your Creator sees you. You walk clean because you know your sins have a place to go back to Him. You rest easy because your worth isn't tied to trends, likes, or approval. It's tied to the one who made you. You see, rebellion may feel like strength in the moment, but it takes more strength to bow down in humility than to stand in pride. It takes strength to say, I don't know what's best for me. You do. It takes strength to let go of what destroys you, even when the world tells you it's normal. It takes strength to wear modesty in a world that sells your body for attention. It takes strength to pray when everyone else is partying. It takes strength to forgive when everyone else tells you to hold a grudge. That's real power. That's real freedom. But here's where the mercy shows up. When you surrender, you're not punished. You're protected. You're not shamed. You're sheltered. You're not silenced. You're heard by the one who never sleeps, never leaves, and never stops loving you. And when you fall, and you will fall, He doesn't say, look what you did. He says, come back to me. I'm still here. Now tell Meg what's more merciful than that. When the world cancels you, Allah forgives you. When the people shame you, Allah hides your sins. When your past haunts you, Allah wipes it clean. But only after you surrender. Only after you stop running and finally say, enough. I need you. And that moment, that one moment where you let go of your pride, your pain, your playing and place it in His hands. That's when the healing begins. That's when the chains fall off. That's when you realize surrender is not weakness. It's the doorway to strength, to peace, to mercy. Rebellion looks good on the outside, but surrender feels right on the inside. And if you're tired of pretending to be strong while breaking behind closed doors, if you're tired of chasing people, chasing money, chasing status, then maybe it's time to stop running. Maybe it's time to bow your head and find the only mercy that never runs out. Because true mercy is never in rebellion. It's in surrender.